Tonight, a major storm. California's biggest rain of the year floods streets, knocks out power, and forces evacuations. Ben Tracy is there. While Americans are enjoying bargain gas, Anthony Mason reports oil prices threaten to throw Russia into recession. Jeff Glor on a new investigation of deadly airbags.
I went through living hell.
How many vehicles should be recalled? Bob Orr on the break-in at Sony. Hackers stole unreleased movies. Is North Korea behind it? And Michelle Miller with soldiers encouraging dropouts to take a second chance.
This is the CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley.
Good evening. Heaven knows California needs the rain, but when the heavens opened up today, they unleashed one heck of a storm, expected to be the biggest of the season. Some parts of the state could get as much as 6 inches, leaving streets flooded and raising the risk of devastating mudslides. Here's Ben Tracy.
In the Camarillo Springs neighborhood near Los Angeles, mud washed into the street, causing mandatory evacuations. And 9 miles of the Pacific Coast Highway are closed from a mudslide during the first wave of storms.
Here we are again.
Yeah, we've been here before.
Ed Heinlein lives in Azusa. His house is right below this hillside. During a massive wildfire this past January, the hills here burned, leaving them barren and prone to mudslides. In March, heavy rain washed several feet of mud into Heinlein's home. Since then, he spent $30,000 repairing and reinforcing his property.
What is the worst case scenario for you?
It'll push that. It'll be gone. It will be gone.
Your house will be gone.
It'll be gone. It'll smash it. It'll implode, or it's going to be pushed across the street.
For the past several days, people have stocked up on sandbags to protect their homes. But for most of drought-ravaged California, the rains are a welcome sight.
This is the area we're concerned about. This is this atmospheric river, the Pineapple Express.
Eric Bolt is a meteorologist with the National Weather Service. He says normal rainfall for Los Angeles is about 15 inches per year. So far, the city has seen 5.89 inches and would need about 30 inches to significantly impact the drought.
Drought impacts from this storm, it's going to be a drop in a bucket. We need many storms like this, probably at least 10 good-sized storm systems to get out of the drought. So this will be one of those storms.
Now the rain is really starting to pick up again, and the hope is that all the water will stay between this wall of sandbags and these concrete barriers, that it will go into storm drains and not into people's front yards. But Scott, meteorologists say that once it starts raining at more than ½ an inch an hour, that's when we can get mudslides, and those often go right over these barriers.
California could use it, but not so fast. Ben, thanks so much. The roads were slick this afternoon in Knoxville, Tennessee, when 2 school buses collided. 2 students and 1 adult were killed on Asheville Highway. One of the buses flipped. 23 students were hurt, but they're expected to recover. Parents rushed to the scene. The cause of the crash is not known. 7 automakers are launching an investigation into potentially deadly airbags that are installed in millions of cars. The airbag maker, Takata, faces a deadline tonight to respond to a U.S. government demand for a nationwide recall. Jeff Glor has been investigating this since the first signs of trouble.
I know I went through living hell. I saw death in the face.
Last year, Shashi Chopra was a passenger in a 2002 BMW in Minnesota.
There was an explosion I heard, and I just told my husband, I said, I can't see anything. He was on the phone with 911, and I said, I cannot see anything with both my eyes. I'm totally blind. That's the last thing I know.
Chopra is one of more than 100 people who say they were hurt by Takata airbags. 2 weeks ago at a Senate hearing, Hiroshi Shimizu, a company executive, apologized to victims.
Our sincerest condolences go out to all those who have suffered in these accidents and to their families.
Takata admits, in some cases, the airbag explodes with such excessive force its metal casing cracks, sending shrapnel flying. Now, after a decade trying to solve the problem, Takata says a review panel will investigate. It'll be chaired by former White House Chief of Staff and Transportation Secretary Sam Skinner. 10 manufacturers are involved, and there's been a patchwork of recalls, with many only in southern states where Takata believes high humidity makes explosions more likely. Takata is still resisting demands for a national recall of airbags. Regarding that accident in Minnesota, BMW says it's not aware of any confirmed problems with airbags in its vehicles, but out of an abundance of caution, Scott, they've recalled all passenger airbags nationwide.
Jeff, thanks. And we've posted the vehicles recalled so far on our website, cbsnews.com. American drivers are paying the lowest price for gasoline in more than 4 years, and today the price of oil fell to $66 a barrel. That's the lowest in more than 9 years. Why is this happening? Will it last? Senior business correspondent Anthony Mason knows the answers.
The plummeting price of gas is saving American drivers $350 million a day over what they paid in mid-June. Since then, the price of crude has plunged by more than a third.
Is this a turning point in the politics and the market of oil?
You know, it is a turning point for the politics in oil right now.
Carl Larry, director of oil and gas for Houston's Frost & Sullivan, says it's the U.S. that's changing the game. Oil production here has soared more than 70% in the past 6 years, spurred by new hydraulic fracking and horizontal drilling technologies.
OPEC all of a sudden is looking for buyers, and we're not one of them, and that's what's causing a lot of problems right now.
Last week, Saudi Arabia and its 11 partners in the oil cartel couldn't agree on production cuts to stabilize prices.
Thank you, gentlemen.
OPEC Secretary General Abdallah Salam al-Badri spoke in Vienna.
I said many times to you that we don't want to panic. I mean it.
But they are panicking in nations where crude is a critical part of the economy. In Russia, where oil and gas account for 2/3 of exports and half the country's revenue, the government today forecasts the country could slip into recession next year. But analysts don't see oil prices bouncing back quickly.
Whereas the oil prices are right around $70 now, we may see them back up to 80 or 85, but 100 now is very, very far away.
The U.S. is still a net importer of oil, but by next year it's expected to pass Russia and Saudi Arabia to become the world's biggest oil producer.
Who would have thought? Yeah, Anthony, car sales are up, Chryslers are up 20%. Is there a connection?
There's definitely a connection, Scott. It's the best annual sales rate in November in a decade, and you can look at the impact of gas prices at Chrysler, where Ram pickup sales were up 31%, and Jeep SUV sales were up 27%.
Anthony Mason. Thank you, Anthony. The FBI is investigating that destructive cyber attack at Sony Pictures. The Bureau is now warning other companies they could be next. Justice correspondent Bob Orr has the latest.
Sources say the cyber attack on Sony Pictures used an especially aggressive malware, capable of erasing hard drives and crashing computer networks. Hackers calling themselves the Guardians of Peace stole the personal information of more than 6,000 Sony employees, and 4 unreleased Sony films were posted to the internet. Now investigators are wondering if the attack might be retaliation for another upcoming Sony movie, The Interview, a comedy in which TV reporters are recruited to assassinate North Korean leader Kim Jong-un.
You want us to kill the leader of North Korea?
Yes.
Now investigators wonder if the plot of that movie may have triggered retaliation against Sony. Sources say the malware code is written in Korean, and North Korean hackers have used a similar cyber weapon before in a 2013 attack on banks and broadcasters in South Korea.
This signals a new capability for North Korea.
Cyber analyst James Lewis says the use of malicious software that can destroy data is an escalation on the cyber front.
Most of the breaches are smash and grab, so if the North Koreans did indeed erase data, that's a step up. That's more like an attack than what we've seen in the past.
And Lewis says that kind of damage can be permanent if companies like Sony don't routinely back up sensitive files.
My lesson is, you know, if you're going to make fun of the dear leader, maybe you should think twice if you don't have backups.
Now, the FBI has not publicly identified North Korea as a suspect in the case, but Scott, federal investigators are sharing information about the malware with other companies and urging them to immediately tighten cyber defenses.
Bob Orr in the Washington newsroom tonight. Bob, thanks very much. Today, Republicans are settling on a strategy to counter the immigration reform plan that the president is enacting by executive action. That plan will allow millions of people in this country illegally to avoid deportation. Nancy Cordes tells us that Republicans are planning to use the power of the purse.
The top idea is to use next week's government funding deadline to send a message to the president. House Speaker John Boehner wants to fund the entire government through next fall, except for the Department of Homeland Security, which implements immigration policy. That agency would only get funded for a few months, giving Republicans a chance to make targeted immigration cuts once they control all of Congress come January. Some conservatives want to try to make those cuts now, but most GOP members seem to side with Boehner, who is trying to avoid the kind of funding fight that led to a government shutdown last year.
I think they understand that it's going to be difficult to take meaningful action as long as we've got Democrat control in the Senate.
The chances of a shutdown dropped dramatically this afternoon when Senate Leader Harry Reid signaled he might actually be open to the Boehner bill.
I think it's a shame that they're not going to include a very important Homeland Security appropriation bill, but I understand why they're doing it.
It's rare for a leader to give way this early, but truth be told, Scott, Congress has been funding the government in fits and starts for the past few years anyway. So a bill that funds almost the entire government through the end of the fiscal year might actually represent an improvement.
Nancy Cordes at her post on Capitol Hill. Nancy, thanks very much. Syria's civil war has reached another horrific milestone. Today, a human rights group said 200,000 people have now been killed in more than 3 years of fighting. 63,000 of the dead were civilians, 10,000 of them children. After Ferguson, the president wants cops to wear body cameras. We're going to have a look at the pros and the cons, and later we'll check out the first color photo of this comet when the CBS Evening News continues. More than a week after a grand jury declined to indict a white Ferguson, Missouri police officer in the death of an unarmed black teenager, protests continued. Students walked out of their high school in the St. Louis suburb of Florissant. Also today, the governor said he will begin drawing down the National Guard presence in Ferguson. Yesterday, President Obama said he wants more officers to wear cameras, and Jim Axelrod has been looking into that.
Walk over here. Show me your hands. Sandpoint, Idaho, last July. Police officers confront a woman with a knife, making threats.
Drop the knife! Bring it on! Drop the knife! No! Drop the knife!
No! Drop the knife! The fatal shooting was recorded. A prosecutor cleared the officers. This week, the New York City Police Department is beginning a pilot program where 60 officers will wear cameras like those in Idaho. Letitia James is New York City's public advocate.
There's no he said, she say, no hearsay. It's recorded, we have it on tape, and there's no room for argument.
At $450 to $900 a camera, James says it would cost $32 million to outfit the entire NYPD. Last year, the city paid out nearly $178 million to settle misconduct claims.
I know what happened with Michael Brown, as all of these other cases has drawn a national concern with regards to aggressive policing in the city of New York. And I think this would have assisted and provided the prosecutor as well as individuals who are just concerned about the incident in Ferguson, an objective recording of what actually happened.
In the 2 years cameras have been used in Rialto, California, the use of force by police is down 59%. And complaints against officers are down 88%.
Well, this is the actual camera.
In Laurel, Maryland, they've been using cameras for 18 months. Deputy Chief James Brooks says complaints are also down and that public awareness of the cameras is key.
We want them to know that it's being recorded. Transparency is what we're looking for there.
Privacy advocates question who would have access to what was recorded and for how long. In New York City, the union that represents police officers is raising concerns the policy will saddle officers with, quote, technological and administrative tasks completely unrelated to their crime-fighting duties.
Jim, thanks very much. Today, President Obama visited the National Institutes of Health, where researchers say a new Ebola vaccine has no side effects. More studies on the vaccine will be done in West Africa, where the virus has killed more than 6,000 people. The White House also said today the number of U.S. hospitals set to treat Ebola has increased from 3 to 35. There was excitement today over the first color photo of Comet 67P taken by the Rosetta space probe. Previous pictures were in shades of gray. This was taken with filters which give an approximation of true color, though Rosetta scientists say that someone standing there 300 million miles away would think that it looked black in the light of the distant sun. An Iraq war veteran is on a new mission here at home to save lives. We'll have his story next. Finally tonight, since the summer, we have been following the progress of high school dropouts getting a second chance through an intensive program run by the National Guard. Tonight, Michelle Miller tells us more about the sergeants who try to motivate the cadets at the academy near Los Angeles and what motivates the sergeants.
Give me one solid one. You know what I'm talking about. There you go. That's the kind of effort I'm talking about.
Just remember why we're here. To intervene in reclaiming these 16 to 18-year-old high school dropout lives.
Why are you just standing around?
We want to push discipline and structure from day one.
Down! Up! One first sergeant!
Even though you're going to be harsh, even though you're going to be intense, you're always going to be appropriate.
Everything we do is for a reason.
You're always going to keep in mind as if they were your own children.
Attention!
First Sergeant Michael Scott is the Sunburst Commandant. He's in charge of the cadre, the 28 sergeants who've made it their life's mission to turn these at-risk students' lives around.
People often say, oh, you work with bad kids. And I immediately say, no, I work with kids who need a second chance, kids who have potential but have not yet unlocked that potential.
I'm trying to set you up for success.
47-year-old Sergeant Timothy Edwards spent a year in Iraq before coming to Sunburst. He's a no-nonsense, hard-nosed Army vet.
Panthers!
He lost his mother when he was a child and understands what these young rebels need.
We are not here to be mean, but you will listen to me and my cadre. Do you understand?
Everybody makes mistakes. There's not a perfect human being on the planet. But when you make a mistake, you look in the mirror and you own it.
You tell me why you don't have your socks on.
That's what he's tried to teach Marissa Stowe. He knew she was going to be a challenge from day one.
Your socks were stuck, so everybody's gonna pay. Jumping jacks, go!
Cadet Stowe showed up to the academy, and she stands in this way that basically, I don't care, I don't give a damn, this and that.
You better work hard for me, you understand?
Yes,
Did we not have a conversation when you first came here?
He talked to me so many times to get me to pay attention. He motivates me, really.
I have a saying, all you got to do is what?
All you got to do is what? Breathe, Sergeant, breathe! That's it.
All you got to do is breathe. I'm gonna control everything within your environment until you get on track.
Sometimes the first step is scary.
34-year-old Platoon Sergeant Peter Gutierrez came to Sunburst after a tragedy in his own family.
5 years ago, I lost my brother to violence in the streets. When that moment happened, I knew I had to change other people's lives.
I see a lot of myself within these kids.
Next candidate, what's your last name?
We let them know that, we can't change the world, outside of these walls, but we can change what goes on with you.
Hey, go back and take that cover off and put it on properly. Hurry up!
We're portrayed as the hardcore, screaming military sergeant, Look, tears will come. I have cried.
Hip hop, lollipop, let me hear my pictures rock.
We get to know these kids on a personal level, and we truly care about their success.
Let me hear you 3 more times. Hold the line. All right, let's go.
And while working at Sunburst is their full-time job, 74% of the sergeants are active duty and can be called up to go to places like Afghanistan at any moment. There is 1 month to go in this program, Scott, so our next story will focus on how these dropouts go from F's and D's to A's and B's.
Amazing series, Michelle. Thank you very much. And that is the CBS Evening News for tonight. For all of us at CBS News all around the world, good night.